All right, so I just got the frame back from my buddy who powder coated it for me, and we are starting to put together all the components. So I started to do the headset already and hadn't filmed it, so I'm going to show you what I got going on here. I don't have any fancy bicycle tools except I did buy a bottom bracket wrench, which we'll show a bit later. Yes, there's my dog. So I'm kind of winging it with a couple of these other things. So what I've got going here is basically threaded rod, a nut, a piece of steel plate that I had and cut and put a hole in. That will suck the cup, the headset cup, down into the tube. And on this end, we don't have a headset cup yet because I want to press them in even. But I'll do that for the second half. So here we go. Okay, headset cups are in. If I'm honest, my homemade press did not work nearly as well as I had hoped. Because of the square washers that I basically just used a piece of cut-off steel, they didn't seat in the center, which caused some uneven pressing, and sometimes had to use my little persuader there to get it to even out. So I would recommend finding a set of washers that fits inside the diameter of the cup. That'll keep it nice and centered, and it should probably work just fine. Now for the bottom bracket, if you saw my parts video, you'll know this is probably my favorite part of this whole build, and something I was really happy to find. Because Raleigh uses 26 threads per inch on many of their retro frames, you have a very difficult time finding threaded bottom brackets that work. So this is essentially going to turn into a press fit bracket. So what you do first is put this in with a sleeve, expanding sleeve on one side, and then thread this onto here without the sleeve, crank it down, and get this to expand to fit, and pull this all the way off, put the sleeve back on, and then press this side in. So that's going to take a little while, probably won't show how, but I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. So as with many awesome things, the thing I thought would be the coolest and easiest has given me the most trouble so far. As you can see, there's a gap between what should be butted up against the bottom bracket holes here on both sides. I'm willing to bet that's due to the fact that the threads inside are still too thick. I did nothing to prep them for that, so if I have to, I will take this back apart and grind those threads down a bit so we can get a better press fit there. But what I'm going to do is leave it for now with these sitting how they are and see what the mock-up is for chain position if it's straight. I was actually concerned that this was going to be too far in and cause a crooked chain lineup with the wheels. But now that it's out a little bit, maybe that's not the end of the world. So we'll mock it up and see. Alright, so I ran into a little problem with the bottom bracket, but that was my fault, and I might have to wait for some ordered parts now, which kind of sucks because I really want to ride this. But moving on to other projects, these brakes I had to buy off eBay. Not usually a place I would shop for parts, but basically with the deep dish and the 700C size wheels on a old mountain bike fork that was only meant for 26-inch wheels, the brakes were basically, so the rim was way up here looking for brake pads, and standard brakes were down here. These are super adjustable and have a super long arm. So that will allow me to slide those all the way up there and adjust brakes as needed. They are pretty much plug and play, straight on, one bolt each side. It came with a bunch of hardware, and I think these are called ferrules. the 90-degree bends that I will put on the cable that I also got. That's just a straight up cable, but I'm not going to cut that to size until I know how high the handlebars are going to be. So just kind of getting these mounted up and like they're in the right place right now. Alright, here we go. Brakes are on and adjusted. Obviously you can see pads are at a good height now. Contacting the rim in the correct spots. And actually that one's a little high, I'll have to fix that. But yeah, there you go. So these long adjustable arm brakes off eBay worked really well for this. Alright, so I may have gotten a little excited today and did some installation that I intended to take video of, but now I don't feel like taking apart. So today what I did was cut the steer tube to the proper length and weld the proper width piece that I had originally cut off the bottom of the fork. Welded it to the top of the pipe that travels on the inside so that the headset could be assembled. Kind of a crappy review on this headset. The expander nut that is supposed to be pressure fit in between the steer tube and the main bearing on the top portion doesn't even fit between the bearing without the steer tube in there, so clearly something is incorrect. I will eventually replace the headset, but for now I got excited and kept going. So here we go. Everything has been greased up. We got nice proper fitment in there all the way on up to the top headset. I have a bunch of spacers in here just kind of randomly selected. If I have to, I can cut the welds on the piece of pipe that I used and lift or raise. What I'm noticing, don't trip over the stool behind me, is that in relation to the seat, the bars are a little high, especially for something that looks so compact. So what I might end up doing is getting some bars with a bit of rise in them. So that kind of puts a damper on doing the brake lines right now because I want them to be the right height. And I did, like I mentioned the other day, run into an issue with the bottom bracket. What I found was that because there's some schmutz in there and pipe, so as you see, like right there, kind of sticks down past the threaded round portion. What ended up happening was the pressure, the compression nut, flared and stripped and got stuck and wouldn't go all the way in. So kind of crappy situation. I will email Velo eventually to see if I can get another piece, because this is a superior cartridge bottom bracket to the replacement that I got, but it's also 70 bucks. So the one that I got that is the same concept, a little bit different method, is only about 30, and it's on Amazon and it'll be here in 2 days. But I like this bottom bracket better, so eventually hopefully I can get just the compression nut and compression sleeve that got all jacked up replaced and use this as intended. So that means that my pedals and crank are on hold, which means chain is on hold, which means riding is on hold, which kind of sucks, but that's what happens when you do this for the first time. Also, fun note, if you didn't know this, Aquanet, crazy 80s hairspray, super awesomely effective at grip glue. Kind of lubricates as you put it on, let it dry overnight, and it's pretty untouchable. If you need to get them off, get a can of WD-40 with a straw, peel back, stick the straw between the bar and the grip, squirt away, rotate a little bit, and it slides right off. So anyway, this is where we stand. And now I have to wait 2 or 3 days till midweek to get my replacement bottom bracket and actually give this thing a test ride. But so far I am super excited about how it looks and cannot wait to get it out on the streets.